Welcome to the Community ROI podcast. Here, senior community experts, founders, and C-level managers tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about how community impacts business growth. By listening to these conversations, you'll get actionable steps on how to connect community goals with business goals to skyrocket business growth while still bringing extreme value to community members. My name is Yurii. I help people on brands shine through communities and personal connections. And my guest is Veronica Kaulinis, community builder, facilitator, and change management professional who turns knowledge into action, designing systems, programs, and experiences that drive real engagement and business impact, from leading enterprise knowledge platforms to building global communities like Vulnerable AF about powerful conversations and human connection. So, welcome, Veronica.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's been some times. We've been in this community building orbits, and finally we're getting to have this conversation. We are getting to dive deep into what the hell is going on in this community and what people should and must know about it. And you've been coaching and building community focused on fostering human connection, on vulnerability and communication around it for over 7 years. So from your experience, how's human part connected with business part?
Thank you. I love that question. And so when I started, and I think I hear a lot of community builders say something similar, I had no idea that I was building community. Like I just wanted to connect with people. And when I first started, I was really struggling with having deep relationships in my life. I was a part of different networks and different communities, different pockets of people, but I struggled with having the deep, intimate connections that I deeply wanted. And so I live in New York now, and definitely at that time I was living in New York City, and I wanted to create this. And it wasn't really like a business perspective at all. Like I had no attachment to it being my business or it being anything that I do for work. I was already working for a startup as a community manager, but I just so deeply needed this for myself. So I started something called Vulnerable AF. And my original idea was just to have people that I know gather and have deep conversations. And I just thought I would do it once. And then I thought, you know what, let me do it. People loved it. And then I thought, let me do it for another couple of weeks. And that's it. And then I'm going to close this chapter. And then the next week, it went from 6 people to 15 people to 20 people to 25 people. And people were like, why do you want to stop this? And then it just grew and I became this community builder. And so I was kind of like this accidental community builder. And I'm going back to what I was saying. I hear a lot of community managers and builders say that they became a community manager or community builder, leader by accident. And I've just always been really fascinated with relationships and connection. And I think that when I started this, I, again, had no attachment to it being something that I did for work, even though I was already running or helping helping a startup run their community. But I just was doing this for myself. And what I also struggled, or what I realized in that startup that I was working with, I was responsible for getting people to get to their gatherings. And I was really good at it. I was like, hey, there's this cool event that we're hosting, come join it. And I was so good at it. I even tried to quit that company, and then he tried to find ways for me to come back. Like, all right, well, what if I pay you to just be at events? And but why that community was struggling was because the founder was so attached to people getting there, like getting something. They wanted the people to get there, and why I was really great at getting people to come to something or gathering people was because I had relationships. I had, especially with Vulnerable, and I was building Vulnerable AF at that time. And why people would come to Vulnerable AF was because I was also myself. I was not trying to get you anything or trying to get you to do something. I was being me, and I was also building relationships, and I was also being vulnerable. I was being, and it wasn't just because I wasn't being vulnerable as a performance or for performance reasons, but I was being me. And I think sometimes leaders miss the mark when they want to grow a business or they want to grow something that has human connection involved in it, which is, which is community, and which, if you are building a community that has no human connection, I don't know how that's going, but like some people want to build a community but don't want to connect with people, or don't want to be vulnerable, don't want to be authentic. They want to be like the leader, but like not have connection, or they want to build AI communities but have nothing to do with the human interaction. So yeah, that's what I think about when I think about like the power of human connection and relationships, and also building a business, and how important it is to have that authenticity that is you. Like, you're building it because you deeply want people to be there, and you care about this thing, you care about the people in the community, and you're willing to be messy, you're willing to not know the answer. You just are driven by like the value that this community brings, and that the value that the community can give to others.
I feel like sometimes, if we are talking about like big organizations, sometimes they cannot allow being messy. They are just trying to make people all the same, and do not show their personality, do not show their vulnerability. And sometimes when we are talking about like building a community for personal connections, or even working with a startup, it's so much easier because you can do so many different things and you are not put in box. But then you go to corporate, and then you have to be like, you have to have a suit, and then you have to act like a robot, not a human. And coming back to the startup, so I'm curious, why did they need to bring people inside? What was the business goal behind it?
Their business goal was also 2019, or no, 2018, 2019. So it was also a different time in the world, and like different, like there was different needs, especially I think compared to now. That was a community about wellness, and they wanted to have these wellness events, and they wanted to build a membership. So it was a membership community. So their goal was to have these members and then host these amazing events for their members to attend. And then they were like, the business was a membership model.
And how did it work to build business without trying to build human connections?
Yeah, I think that, they did have this goal of building a membership, and then they had these community managers that would go out and build these relationships and then have them come to our events that we were hosting. So, but I think that what was missing there was like this, there was like something off about it. Like it wasn't like authentic. It was like, we were doing these kind of like cheesy events. And I think the goal, like, to build this membership model was cool, like to have a place where people are like, they care about wellness, they care about these certain particular aspects of a community, like, which is what any community wants to, when they're building, they all care about something, right? And I think this goal, the goal of this community was wellness, but I think what was missing was the connection piece. And I think even having community managers go out and like network with their network to bring people into their community, which I think it is a great way to grow your business. Like, that is community, right? Like, if something's really valuable and you think it's cool and then you want to bring someone into it, that's amazing. But I think that sometimes, especially with startups, I have worked with a couple of startups where I help them build their community from the ground up. And I have seen like startups or community leaders and startup founders think, oh, I'm gonna have these community managers tap into their network, and then I'm gonna have them bring their friends into my business, right? And sure, it's a business goal, right? It can bring in revenue if someone thinks it's really cool. But I think what can be missing is like the connection piece, like the value piece. Like there is this like level of like, oh, I'm connecting with you because I want you to join my community, right? Or I'm connecting with you because I'm working for this. It's business development. I mean, I think community managers are also do business development, do depending on what kind of community you're a part of. But yeah, especially a startup.
Which is totally good, because when you are creating a business, you still need people and you still need to talk to them. And as long as your business is bringing value, as long as it helps people to grow, to deal with some challenge or pain so yeah, it's amazing. That's how it really works. The best business when you do is not when you just get random people and sell them something, but when you include people who needs your business, who needs your services, who needs this community, and then you help them solve. And of course, when you are overcoming, when you are working on some challenge together, yeah, that's the beauty of it. That's the best part. When you are working together, you're building human connections and you are growing business. So it's kind of like win-win situation. And
It's a win. Mm-hmm.
coming to let's talk definitions. So what's your definition of a community for business?
A community for business is, to me, I don't have like an exact definition of it, but I think that for a business, for community and business, it's when the marketing, the product side, the sales department, the IT department, we're all working cohesively together. Like we are building this community because this is going to like up level our clients, our business goals. Like we're building this community so that we can grow as a business, and then also our customers or our clients that we work with can grow and have value in it. Right. So it's a win-win for the company and the business. And I mean, for the business and also the community and the clients. But it's to me, it's this cohesion of connection.
I heard so many times that community is a horizontal organization, and then it's like touches every department within a company. It's not, and even if you are, for example, building a community of external people, if you are like serving community of clients, you are still building community internally. You are still connecting all those different teams around one goal. And like it's being like this glue that helps companies to move forward. As you've said, when marketing, sales, product team, wherever you name it, when they work together specifically to deliver the best value to the customers. And of course, customers will give you feedback. They will give you their attention. They will advocate about your product or whatever you're building. But it only works if you have this two-way street, when you have this connection and relationship. And you were talking a lot about events, like that's one of the things that you enjoy the most. And I'm curious, what is one community activity that you enjoy the most and why?
What's a community activity I enjoy the most and why? So one of the ways that I grow community is through events. I think it's such a powerful way to build relationships, to build connection, to also build brand awareness, to get people aware of your community, of the community that you're running, also to help your community members have more awareness of the platform they're a part of, or the experience, the experience that they have together inside. So I love running events, hosting events, and a community experience that I've had. I mean, I remember when I was building a community of women in Bali. I started, and this came from me. I was living in Bali during the pandemic for a year and a half, and it was an amazing experience, amazing time. And I remember being a part of different networks and pockets. And I was also running a business and starting my coaching and facilitation business. And I just noticed there wasn't a community for women to talk about business things. So I created this event called it's called Bali Business Babe or something like that. And it was a mastermind, and I just gathered and invited women that I knew, and women attended. And then I started this group chat, and then it turned into something called Bali Biz Babes. And then it's still going and ongoing, and other people are running it now. But what I loved about that experience was that it was a gathering full of women that I knew and thought were really awesome. And I curated this event that connected women, but also had them talk about their business and what they're working on and how they can support each other. It was this mastermind. And then it turned into a community of people. And then now women have a place where they can gather and connect and talk about business related things. So I think that's like one of the ways that I love to grow communities. That's the way I have helped. Even when I start working for startups, I run events. That's the way that I have grown community. And also inside of I work for a company now. I run a knowledge-based community, and I have an internal team that I work with. Like I'm building an internal community, and one of the ways that I grow this community or I build brand awareness of the platform that I run is events. I run events, and it's the way that people connect. They see each other. They remember each other. It's just like that little special flavor is just something I love to put together and gather. And I think it's just such a great way to grow community.
When we use the word event, it can be different. Mm-hmm. It can be like a conference for 1,000 people. It can be like a smaller meetup, like peer-to-peer connection for, 5-6 people. It can be a webinar for 50 people. So I'm curious, what kind of events do you like the most and why?
Ooh, that's a good question. So in-person events are my top favorite, but those can be hard to do all the time, especially if you have an online community, if you have if you're running an internal community and you have teams that live everywhere and are not unable to get together in person. But I do love events, in-person events, conferences, but also webinars. For my internal community that I run webinars and online events often. So that's the way that is an easier way because it's a great way to have communication, to have people meet, to have people connect, to remind people who's here, who's in the room. Conferences are a wonderful way to gather people. The thing about conferences though is that it's a lot to plan and to think about and consider. There's a bigger budget in place that you have to put together. But in-person events, if you can do an in-person meetup or a gathering or having people meet somewhere, is another great way to just grow community. And it's also like a way that you can have marketing there, where you're gathering their names, you're gathering and you can also have other people invite their people that they know and then potentially want to grow in your community, or that could grow your business as well. Internal communities are a little different because we're not really looking to grow our community in that way, right? We don't really need to, but it depends on the type of community that you're building and the goal that you have.
If we are talking about an internal community, as you've said, there is no goal to grow, which is a little bit easier. And still, I know that when you are doing an internal event, people are busy. They are doing the work and stuff. And usually these events are something on top of their job. So it's like extra. Of course, it's extra value, but also it takes extra time. So what's your recipe for the perfect internal event to ensure that people are coming and getting the most value of it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that is a big problem that I see is time, busyness, not having enough time. But I think if you make an event valuable, like if you speak to the problem that people have and you create an event or an experience that would help them solve that problem, it helps diminish that issue, right? If I'm doing, like, let's say, for example, I've been at the company that I've been with for 4 years, and I did do these co-working sessions when I first started, where I would, because time was a big problem, and a goal that our community has is to share in this community. Like, we really want the community to be engaged, for people to share, to post their work, things like that, and to share their knowledge, it's a knowledge-based community. So one of the problems was time so much. So I created these co-working sessions for people, and they were like speed co-working sessions where we would gather and upload our content together, like upload our knowledge. And I made it fun, where I would play music, and I would have, I led these icebreakers in the beginning so people can connect, but also take this dedicated time and share their knowledge and share their work with each other. And I thought that it would, in the beginning, it was really great. We had attendees every time, but then it started to die down because I would do them often. And I think that, again, if it's a time issue, they're not going to want to go to this thing that they have to spend more time on, right? So then I started doing, then I did an in-person lunch that was really fun, where it was kind of like this, like, low stakes, no pressure to come, but I made it fun to want to come. Like, you want to be there. I had these prizes and contests, scavenger hunts. I would do things like that. But something that I do now that it works pretty well is I do this, this like refresher type of event where I go over the platform, and I do this like kind of like our community is called the Knowledge Gateway. So Knowledge Gateway for newbies, or Knowledge Gateway refresher. And it's a way to have people like learn about the platform again, and and I say, I'm going to show you how to do these things that you forgot about. All right. So things like that, like helping them solve their problem. And we have AI in this platform. So I always talk about AI. Like, hey, I'm going to show you how to get really good at AI. And then people are like, oh, I want to learn this thing. So it's like having a problem that, like, helping, especially in my community, there's a lot of like researchers and marketers in my community. So people want to learn. Right? They're like, how do I make my whatever I'm doing at work better? Right? So it's like, okay, helping create experiences for your community members that help them solve their problems that they have. And now if it's valuable, then they'll want to come. Like, for me, my whole premise is aside from my internal community that I run with my full-time job, people know me about Vulnerable AF. People know me for vulnerability. People know me for human connection. And sometimes having people could just connect is not enough, right? If I'm like, hey, let's meet up and connect, and let's just have vulnerable conversations, that, like, some people might be really into it, but most people, especially in the business side of things, are not. They're like, I don't want to connect with this person, or I don't want to do that. I don't want to, like, that's not a valuable way valuable way I want to use my time, even though, like, I would totally sign up, right? But it doesn't mean that your community members will. So give them a reason, give them something really valuable and something that would help solve their problems, especially when it comes to time.
I don't remember who exactly it was. I need to find this person to quote them, but someone told that in a community, you are the only one person who is paid for being inside as a community manager. And your members, they are paying with their time, so they are not getting paid, and they are even giving away their time, their knowledge, whatever you call it, wherever you need from them. So it's always, I totally get what you are talking about. It's the hardest part to get them involved, to bring them involved. And also, as you've said, people are seeking to get knowledge, and getting knowledge is one thing. To get knowledge, you can go to Google, you can go to ChatGPT, YouTube, whatever, or go to the event and learn from others. But sharing knowledge is the second part, because you need to prepare, you need to think what to talk about, you need to ensure, you need to deal with this inner complex that you know exactly, that you are a subject matter expert, that you are not just someone bragging about whatever they don't know that they know. So how do you encourage people to share the knowledge?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I make it so every time I do a demo of my platform that I run, I always talk about the value that your knowledge has. Like when you share knowledge, it helps other people on your team have that knowledge. Or also helping them, especially in my community, preface, hey, when you share knowledge, you're also being seen and celebrated in your work. Like you can become this person that people see. People know. They're like, oh, Bob is sharing content about this thing. Wow, I remember that he shared that. I know that Bob did that. And you become seen as someone who's doing that. So I preface and tell community members, hey, when you share, it really adds value. Like your word, your work that you have, it matters. Like it really matters. And if you want something in this community, I always share that, like, let us know, like, let me know, let somebody else know so we can get it in there. So kind of enrolling them to be the leader, and telling them that your leadership inspires other people to be leaders as well. Also, when people share, I'm a big advocate for celebration, messaging them, saying thank you for sharing, thank you for posting that, it matters. Or I reach out, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while, and you used to share this piece of knowledge and wisdom. I would love it if you posted it. I would love it if you shared it again, or if you had something that's updated or up to date around this piece of wisdom. And it does make a difference. It makes people see, oh, wait, I am noticed in this community. People do want my research in this community. It's a research community. So like people do want that from me. So like really letting people know that they matter. And then also having those one-on-one conversations, help letting them know and saying, hey, like, I want to hear from you, or how can I make your life easier today? Right. I think like, especially if there's a time issue with your community members, helping your community people make their life easier. Right. And it's the same with events. Like if you make an event that can make someone's life easier. Like I can help you solve this thing. And it kind of goes hand in hand with marketing a little bit. Like, I mean, I know businesses think that community managers are like also marketers, but I think as a community manager, you should get good at marketing, right? Like, or at least for me, I had to get good at marketing because I was running a business, but to know, oh yeah, like what can I add? What's that little special piece of magic that I can add that would make someone's life easier, and also like make it memorable and make it something that people want to show up to. And so even encouraging people to share is like, hey, enrolling every member and making sure every member knows what to expect when they come in. And then also having those relationships and having this expectation that like, hey, when you share, it really makes a difference and you matter. So, and I could just say one more thing, like that's what I would do in my events at Vulnerable AF. I guide practices about vulnerability and connection, but like the preface is that when you're vulnerable, when you're authentic, it inspires other people to also be vulnerable and authentic. So, yeah.
Why it's important for people to be seen?
Why is it important for people to be seen? I think people want to know that they matter. People join communities because they want to be a part of something. They want to be around people that have similar values and have similar beliefs or similar interests and hobbies and things like that. So like when I joined a community, I remember when I joined a community last year, there was a specific community that I joined. It was around business and leadership. And I remember joining it, and I didn't really feel seen in that community. And I brought it to, and the person who was leading the running the program in the community, I brought it to him, and he was my friend. But I remember sometimes I would go to his workshops and go to his gatherings, and I was like going through my own things, and I didn't really feel seen by him at all, and I didn't feel seen by others in the community. I didn't really feel like I didn't feel like we were also on the same page. So I remember bringing it to him, and I remember saying like, I'm not having a great experience. And it was actually really amazing because he was like, oh my God, Veronica, like, thank you for bringing this to me. I didn't know. I'm really good at this, but I don't really know how to run a community or build a community. Can you help me? So I ended up working with him and working for him and in that community. And it was amazing. And I helped him just like create these touch points for people when a new member comes in, or when a community member has been a member forever. How do you create those connections and opportunities for members to feel seen, and also to make like even on your calls or at an event, having those little touch points that have a community member know that they are noticed and that they matter.
I feel like Zara, once again, you're talking about two experience, at least two experience that you're having running your business at Vulnerable AF, and then like working with the internal community. And I feel like it's huge difference, even though people in one space and people are in another space. But I believe that people who are coming to Vulnerable AF, they are coming there intentionally. So that's something they search for. But if we are talking about this internal community, it's like add on, good to have, something that you can use or cannot use. And adding touch points when people are coming, it feels like just you're just having this time of your life. Like it's just amazing. If people want something and then you guide and you help them, you are just being their guide. You don't need to do anything else, and they just getting what they want. But if we are talking about this internal community, how to create these touch points to ensure that people are getting value, and as you've said, to make their life easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just figuring out ways to make it easier. And yes, to your point around, for an internal community, it's more so good. It's nice to have, right? So if that is the case, how do you make it really nice to have? How do you make it so that there's some magic that they don't get from other areas at work, right? Or other areas of their life? How do you make it so that, okay, yeah, maybe you have another platform, like so at my company, there's a couple of different communities or different platforms, right, that they use. And my role is to help them like use this platform more often, right? And have this be like the main community that you're a part of. And or the thing that they mainly use. And I think about, okay, what don't they have? What can they get? What can I create here from a human level that they may not have in the other platforms and the other spaces that they could have, right? How do I make this one a place where like they feel safe to share, they feel welcome to share, they feel seen, it's fun, right? So yeah, I think, like I said, like it's going back to what makes it a yes, right? And how do you make the community members feel like this is a place I'd rather be, or I don't want this place to go away, especially for internal communities. I mean, there is always this fear that like something could be taken away, right? If the ROI or or people aren't really using it anymore, it could be taken away at any moment. And how you make it so that it is this place that people are using, that people do feel like, oh, wait, I'm a part of this. I don't want this to go away. How can I add now? Right. Or even, with my events that I share, I'm always like, I create ways to make them learn about the platform again, because sometimes like people forget, or especially like sometimes what I see with companies or with people, leaders, maybe leaders who are higher up in the team, they might think, oh, we launched this thing, we launched this platform, and we communicated and we sent an email about it, and then people are on it, and then that's it. People should just be using it. And that's not the case. That goes into what I do with change management. Like, how do you create that change? How do you create that new habit that people have? How do you create these expectations? Okay, now we went to this platform. This is where we do this thing now. This is where we share. This is what we do. And I have been there for 4 years. I still have to run refresher events because people just still forget how to use it, or like they didn't know that this platform, that this function was there, or that this thing would make their life easier. You still have to do those things. And I think sometimes leaders forget, or community managers or business owners forget, oh, I can't just communicate it once, or I launched this thing. Doesn't everybody want it? No, you have to really communicate and build those relationships and really speak to people like they're little children. Like, hey, remember how to do this thing? Hello.
You mentioned that people don't want to lose something, and I can clearly imagine that members of this community don't want to use it, because when they joined it, they saw that it's important for them and it's helping them and it's valuable, and then they don't want to lose. They don't want it to go away. But there is difference between members and leadership. So some of like C-level managers, they look at this community and like, oh, they're gathering there, they're eating cookies with a coffee. How the hell it's helping our business to grow? So I'm curious how to track a business value of this nice to have community.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's true. It's easy to forget. Like, what is it? What are we doing here? And I think that making sure that you are tracking those numbers, you are tracking those metrics, you are looking at like who's using the platform, right? All right, people are showing up, people are posting sometimes, but what are the numbers, right? What's going on? How are we continuing to use this in our business, right? So I think that, making sure as a community manager, making sure that you are aware of your numbers, you are thinking about those things, you are like looking out for, like, holding your back a little bit, right? And making sure that you are tracking and like keeping up with what's happening inside of the community, and that you know those metrics and you are aware of those things, and you are thinking about how to grow the business. Like, how do we, if there's people who are maybe there's a lot of lurkers in the community and there's not a lot of people using the platform. That's up to you as a community manager and leader to figure out why. And let's reach out to those people who haven't touched the platform in a long time. Let's figure out like why the leaders aren't using the platform, and let's figure out how do we get them aligned with the value that this community has. And I think it just really comes back to value, and the value that you continue to bring, the value that you continue to offer and highlight, and especially if it's an internal, right? But an external platform, right? You do want to be in touch with those metrics, those numbers, and think about, okay, if people aren't joining my community, if people aren't signing up for my membership, why? What is that? Maybe there's a misalignment with values and the business, or maybe like with business values and community values. maybe, for example, like someone I worked with when I first came on, he just cared about people posting in the platform. And sometimes people can think that is the way that the community is engaged. And that's not really true. It really doesn't matter so much about posting. It matters about relationships. It matters about like alignment and cohesion and like, sure, like that could be the business value, but what are the community members care about? Maybe they don't really want to post. Maybe they maybe they need something else inside of this platform in this community. So think about your customers. What do your customers need that you think that maybe the business really wants, but what do the customers actually really want? And how can you provide and align and be cohesive with that and provide what the company wants in the business and also what the community members and your customers want.
Because you can feel it as a community builder, you can see it in the eyes of community members. But once again, when the leadership come in, they have no idea what the hell is going on. So I'm curious, how do you bring visibility to the overall community impact on business internally? How do you speak to leadership? Are there any specific metrics that you are using, or maybe some kind of reports, or maybe using storytelling? Like, how does it work for you?
Yeah. So I regularly meet up with people that I work with. I'm involving leadership sometimes. Like I'll message leadership like, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while, and I would really love to hear your voice inside of this community. I would really love to see you more inside of the community, or just connect with them and ask like, oh, I see you haven't used it in a while. Why is that? And just get their world, and then maybe give them a reason why how they could use the platform, or, really like helping them see why this platform has been really valuable for the community members, for the business, and having them be a part of it. Right. So figuring out, okay, like just going back to your numbers, going back to metrics, I see that this isn't happening, right? Or I see these numbers, I see this person isn't using it, or I see this person is using it more. How do I get people to see the value? They might forget about this, right? They might, especially when you work with a company, they're so busy, like leaders or hire people who are in the higher up department, or on a higher level department wise, like they may forget that this is here. But how do you make it so that, how do you share the value that this community has, that the impact that it's having? And the way that I create visibility is through events sometimes, like through that brand awareness, through those online virtual events. Or last year I did a big lunch, and I had everybody come, and I had it be like this big thing. And so just like really making those touch point connections to leaders, to community members, and then really showcasing the value and the work that's been put inside of the platform and community.
I sucked in so much into listening to how exactly does it work for you and how to engage with these people in turn, that I totally forgot that usually we have the sky's the limit, but time is the limit. And, I still have so many questions, and I will definitely ask you all of them afterwards. And I totally encourage people to connect with you and ask you extra questions. And there is the final one. So what is one thing to do right away for someone who is struggling with identifying their community ROI?
Something that someone can do right away is, I think, building those relationships. I mean, I think that's the best way. Build those relationships, connect with your people, and get real and honest with numbers, right? Numbers they matter. Get honest about that. Like, track who's in your community, who do you want in your community, right? What are my values as a leader or as someone who is running a business, and what are the community values, and get really clear about that, and build those relationships, and build and create magic. See how you can create more magic in your community, right? it's really easy to think about like numbers and get obsessed with that. Like, don't get obsessed about it, but also think about, how can I be more magical in this community? How can I add more magic to it? Maybe there's different value pieces that I can add. Maybe there's more connection opportunities that I can make for my community members. Maybe I can have them connect. Maybe I can have them run their own events, or have them feel inspired to be a leader inside of this community. How do I inspire my community members to become community leaders? That is also another way to track your ROI. Like, our community members sharing this with other people? And how do I see, if they're not, why not? Right. And then figuring out ways, how do I create that? Right. How do I create ways for those deeper connection points, and then inspiring my community members, my people, to be community leaders themselves? And if they're not inspired to be a community leader, why not? Right. And then get really clear about those numbers, get really clear about who's in your community, who's adding to your community, who's not adding. Like, part of my role, even though I have like an internal platform and there's certain people that's supposed to be in the community, I get rid of people who don't use the platform. Like, I reach out to them, and I attempt a couple of times. And if they're not interested in being in the community, I get rid of them. And it's not personal. It's a business objective, right? Like, you want people who are in the community who want to be in the community and want to be a part of your community. And if they, and also you want them to be getting value. If they're not getting value, then it's not the community for them, and that's okay. And as a community leader or a business owner, it's okay to let people go. I remember when I worked, and really quickly, I'll name, when I worked with that community with my friend, and I helped him get clear about community processes for his community, and help him like build a more engaged community and more engaged events. There were people in his community that like were just a part of his community, but like weren't paying anymore. And he had a membership model. They weren't paying anymore. They were kind of like they were on calls, but like they didn't really show up. And so just like really getting clear, like, oh, do you still want to be in this community? What value does it bring to you? Do you see yourself doing this? And also, if it's a no, it's a no, and that's okay. And letting them go, and then creating space for different people to come in, and people that may be more cohesive and aligned with your objective and goals.
Yeah, it's very important things that you mentioned. It's, you need sometimes to let people go, because sometimes people care about only numbers, and they keep collecting people, and then they're diluting their metrics, because it's a very low level of engagement. But it's not because it's a community like low engaged, but it's because you have a huge number of irrelevant people, and you definitely have to offboard them sometimes.
Totally.
And last but not least, name 2 people I should reach out to talk about community ROI.
2 people you should reach out to. I mean, I feel like you might have already reached out to them based on our orbit of friends. There's someone you might not have reached out to. Jade Levison is a wonderful community builder. She's built multiple communities of women. And I think you know David Nowinski. I'm sure you've interviewed him. Yeah.
Not yet. The fun thing that it's not yet. I know him, but not yet.
Those are 2 people that Jade and David I have in mind. I definitely have more community leaders that I can definitely share with you that are killing it and running incredible communities and incredibly engaged communities for sure. But yeah, those are 2 people that come to mind in this moment.
I will definitely ask you more. No worries, of course. And yeah, Veronica, thank you so much. First of all, I can clearly see your investment into humans, even while we are talking, just looking at you and like your passion, how you are talking about these human connections. I totally understand there is no problem for you to bring people involved, to give them value, to ensure that they are getting value of the community, and also to tell them, hey, you are not here just because it's good to have, but you are here because it's must have. That's how you grow personally, professionally. That's how you encourage your colleagues to grow, and that's how you grow all together, not just the business, but also as a humanity. So thank you so much for all the work that you are doing out there. And thank you, Anton, for this conversation.
Thank you, Yurii, for having me. I'm so excited to be on your podcast. And I feel really honored to have this conversation. And I love what you're up to.
Thank you very much. And see you in the community world. And thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions about how the community can help you reach and overcome your business goals faster, let's connect on LinkedIn and talk about it. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.